Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check today's video out. We are going to be talking about some of my favorite ways to catch bass in really mid-April to about the first or second week of May in today's video. At the time of filming this thing, we're in the middle of April right now, and this is one of the best times of year you can fish, guys. If you can fish at any time of the year, mid-April to about mid-May is some of the best fishing you're going to have, because there's such a large population of fish that are shallower and are actively biting. They're not roaming all over the lake. There's just simply a bigger population of quality fish in shallow water. So I sort of want to go over some of my favorite techniques to catch bass all over the country, because I've fished this time of year, guys, all over the country in tournaments. So I got some things that's worked for me I want to share with you guys in today's episode. Also, guys, quick reminder, just want to let you know about that big blowout sale that Tackle Warehouse has got going on now. They got 35% off on a bunch of stuff on the website. I'll put my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. And if you guys would like to use my affiliate link through Tackle Warehouse, it's a good way to support the channel and get some good deals on tackle too. So really appreciate that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this 1 month window, mid-April to mid-May. Some of the favorite things I like to do. Now, there's a lot of things changing this time of year. It's like you've got bass bedding, you've got fish still in the pre-spawn, you got some fish in the post-spawn, you definitely have bass in the post-spawn in May. And there's a lot of personality and mood changes with the bass just in a 1 month period, probably more than any other time of the year. There's probably a more distinct difference in how the bass react to lures during this time of year. So I sort of want to walk you guys through that based upon water temperature. Now, for the most part, when you're talking about mid-April to mid-May, you're dealing with about a 10-degree water temperature variation. It's usually going to be somewhere between 60 and 70 degrees. That's a big window. And again, that depends on the part of the country you're in, but that covers quite a bit of it. And moreover than not, it's like the bass prefer certain techniques in certain areas based upon those temperature fluctuations. Now, in the mid-May, when the water temperature is closer to 60 degrees, there's going to be a lot of fish that are ready to spawn and spawning. Now, just because it's the spawning season doesn't mean all of them are going to be on the bed nesting, because there's going to be a ton of fish doing everything. These fish will be in those spawning coves, like the flatter, hard bottom, protected coves. They'll be bedding in there, but there'll also be fish just cruising around in there. They're not bedding. They're just like, maybe they're looking for beds, maybe they're not bedding this year, maybe they're done spawning, whatever. There's a lot of bass that you can see, especially in clear water, that are just cruising around in there. When they're in this stage, when they're in this cruising, spawn, close to spawn deal, they want bottom lures. This is the time of year you're not going to do very well on your moving baits, unless you're in off-colored stained water, which is a little bit of an exception. But if you have water visibility of over about 3 feet, you're going to do a lot better anytime you're fishing between like mid-April and late April with baits like Texas rig worms, Texas rig creature baits, jigs, Ned rigs, shaky heads, wacky rigs, some type of bait that you can fish slow on the bottom. This is the mood and the personality the bass are in, as far as they do not like to chase stuff very much. Now, I'm not saying they won't, because you can catch them on a fluke or a floating worm sometimes. But by and large, if you want to catch bass in the month of April, you really only need 3 things. You need some type of a Texas rig, worm or creature bait, a shaky head, and a wacky rig. There is like no lake in the country where that will not work. The only thing you got to do is change up your colors based upon the water clarity. So try to concentrate on that in those, protected, flatter, hard type areas. Now, you're going to notice a change in that, because the bass, they'll spawn pretty quick. It's like a lot of times they'll get it done like in a week, and they're done. They're in and out in a week. And once those fish are done spawning, once that, starts getting closer to like the first part of May, and that water temperature starts warming up closer to 70 degrees, there's a shift in their personality. And at that point, they begin chasing again. They're actively feeding. They're like, when they're focused on spawning, they're not focused on feeding. They are focused on reproducing. Therefore, that's why they don't actively chase. Now, after they're done spawning, they're back in the chase mode, trying to feed up from exerting all that energy. And this is when your baits like your swim baits, your glide baits, floating worms, flukes, swim jigs, and some topwaters begin to work in a wide range of water clarities. Not to say that you can't catch them on slow baits again, but in my way of thinking, it's like the way that I transition in that. It's like, say, for example, I'm wacky rigging and shaky heading and fishing Texas rigs in April. I make a transition in my tackle and I put a swim jig on, again, some type of a topwater, floating worm, fluke, something like that. Maybe even a spinnerbait can be good, depending upon the water clarity. And I stay in those same type of areas because those fish in the early post-spawn, they do not immediately go back out to deep water, with the exception of some lakes that have ledges on them, like the TVA lakes. They'll swim right out and get back on those ledges after they get done spawning. But for most man-made impoundments, they hang around that shallow water. And that's why those baits that I'm talking about are good in the same type of areas that you were catching fish in April on. They're just in a different phase. Those fish may be in their garden fry. They could be feeding up. They're just sort of recuperating. They're hanging out. And you don't see a big transition about those fish moving deeper until usually towards the end of May, first part of June. Then you'll start seeing those fish filter out more out onto points in the main lake and that type of thing. So one of my favorite ways to catch them, during early part of May is like a little chugger on a riprap is real good. If you got riprap on the lake you're fishing, like a little pop-R fished along those rocky riprap banks, great way to catch them during the post-spawn. If you have a windy, cloudy day, get out on the closest secondary point to that spawning area. So in other words, if say you're in a cove where there's been a lot of fish spawning at in April, just move out to the point, that's on its way out of that cove, and start throwing a glide bait and a swim bait, a big swim bait like that Megabass Mag Draft on a windy, cloudy day. That's a great way to catch them. If you have more off-colored water, especially if you got some shallow aquatic vegetation like lily pads or grass, try a swim jig. Super, super shallow. Get back in the back of those coves, cast that swim jig up underneath, overhanging trees or around the grass edges. Really, really good way to catch them. And just stay shallow. You don't really have to go deep. Another way that you can catch them pretty good, too, this is sort of off the topic a little bit, but one of my favorite ways to catch them in the month of May is on a big jerk bait, like that big Megabass Canada or a big, Perfect 10 Rogue, fishing the closest bluffy bank that you can find to those spawning areas. Sometimes those fish, especially if they're spotted bass in the lake, they'll move out to those steep bluffs real quick. So anyway, guys, that's just a couple, off-the-wall things I just wanted to share with you about fishing this time of year, and hope it helps you guys catch a few, and we'll talk later.